Odumegwu Ojukwu in the War for Biafra. Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu was born into privilege, but history would remember him for defiance. Nigeria was young then, freshly independent, stitched together from many peoples, many languages, many wounds. What held it together was fragile. What pulled it apart was fear. In the mid-1960s, violence swept through the country. Coups, counter-coups, assassinations. And then came the killings. Thousands of Igbo civilians slaughtered in the north, targeted simply for who they were. Families fled with nothing. Trains arrived filled with bodies. Survivors returned home carrying silence and rage. Ojukwu was the military governor of the eastern region. Educated, eloquent, stubborn. He watched as the federal government promised safety and failed to deliver it. To him, this was no longer politics. It was survival. Talks were held, agreements signed, promises made, then broken. Trust collapsed. On May 30th, 1967, Ojukwu stood before the world and declared the eastern region a new nation, the Republic of Biafra. It was an act of courage or rebellion, depending on who was speaking. Nigeria answered with war. What followed was not just a military conflict, it was a human catastrophe. Bombs fell on villages, cities burned, roads filled with refugees. But the deadliest weapon was not bullets, it was hunger. As Biafra was blockaded, food vanished. Children's bellies swelled. Mothers watched their babies fade. Images of starvation shocked the world, but help came slowly, too slowly. Ojukwu became both symbol and lightning rod. To his supporters, he was a protector standing against annihilation. To his critics, a man who led his people into disaster. But on the ground, ideology meant nothing. Only survival mattered. Biafran soldiers fought with ingenuity and desperation. Homemade weapons, bare feet, unbreakable resolve. They believed they were defending their right to exist. For 3 years, Biafra held on. Then, in 1970, it ended. Outnumbered, outgunned, starved. Ojukwu went into exile. Biafra surrendered. The war was over. Over 1 million were dead. Nigeria declared, no victor, no vanquished. But the scars told a different story. Homes were gone, wealth erased, trust shattered. Years later, Ojukwu returned to Nigeria, not as a general, but as a civilian. Older, quieter, still controversial. Some called him a hero, some blamed him for everything. History did not give a simple answer, because the Biafran War was not a story of good versus evil. It was a story of fear, identity, pride, and a nation that broke before it learned how to listen. And Ojukwu. He was not just a man who declared a country. He was a man caught between a people who felt hunted and a nation that refused to understand them. The war ended, but its memory never did. Because long after the guns went silent, one truth remained. When a people believe they are no longer safe where they stand, they will risk everything, even extinction, to be heard.